application to solve system of linear equations. So in this section we are going to see the application of the two algorithms which we have discussed in the last two sections. Okay, before that, let us see each and everything. Suppose the standard form of a linear equation in n unknowns. Suppose here I am assuming the unknowns are being x1, x2, x3, and so on. xn is given by a1 x1 plus a2 x2 plus and so on an xn is equal to b, where the coefficients of the unknowns ai's and the constant term b all are scalars. Suppose scalars, in fact, the scalars can be from real numbers, or the scalars can be from complex numbers also. But in this course, we restrict ourselves for the real numbers. But for the complex, even if the scalars are from the complex numbers, the similar method and the same techniques will help us, will hold also. Okay. For example, a linear equation in two variable x1 and x2 means here 2x1 minus x3 or minus x2 is equal to 4. 2x1 minus x2 is equal to 4. Suppose a linear equation in three variables means x1 minus 2x3 is equal to 0. Here you may say, sir, in this equation only two variables are there. Okay, but depends on the context in the situation of the problem. Okay, where x1, x2, x3 are three unknowns are there, but after evaluating, but x1, x2, x3 are related with this equation, which means the coefficient of x2 is 0. Okay, so that depends on the situation, that depends on the problem, how many variable unknowns are there in that particular problem. Okay, so this is generally we people already know it. This is only one equation. Now there is something called system of linear equations. This word is also very much familiar to all of you. You might have come across in your +2 level for solving the system of linear equations. Three equations in three unknowns using the matrix method, matrix inverse method, matrix Cramer's method. Okay, some other techniques you might have come across. Okay, now let us see. Suppose if the number of equations and if the number of unknowns are very large. For example, if I gave some 100 equations in 100 variables, then is it a good thing to go for the to find the solution for the system using the Cramer's method or using the inverse method? It is not always. Why? Because it takes a lot of storage and it costs a lot computationally, and it will become a overload to the system. Okay, so we are in need of some good methods, good algorithms, which will help us, which will reduce the complexity and which will be easy for the programming also. Okay, now a system of linear equations means system of linear, there may be any number of equations, but the number of equations and the number of unknowns should be known in the beginning itself. For example, as you can see here, the general the system I'm considering here m linear equations, each one called L1, L2, L3, and so on Lm. In n unknowns, number of unknowns are n, and they are they're represented with x1, x2, and so on xn. Okay, so there are m equations are there. This is 1, 2, and so on m equations represented with L1, L2, and so on Lm linear equations. And of course the coefficients a, I, j. Here in the previously when I wrote only one equation, the suffixes a1, a2, an, I can simply write. Why? Because there is only one equation. But here in the system of linear equation, I cannot write in that sense. Why? Because for in every equation x1 will be there, and for every x1 there will be a coefficient is there. So we need to maintain the difference. So for that purpose, we need to consider a with double suffixes. Okay, the first suffix represents the number of the equation, and the second suffix represents the coefficient of the unknown, respective unknown. Okay, so now what about the systems generally? What are the different notations or different ways and different concepts? For example, when the system of when the number of equations and the number of unknowns m is equal to n are same, then such a system generally we will call it as a square system. Why? Because why you already know it. I hope there is no need to mention why it's called a square system. Otherwise, we call it as a rectangular system. That is one thing. And suppose if the b1, b2, and so on bm is equal to 0, all the scale all the constant terms which are on the right hand side, if they are 0, okay, then such a linear system, such a system called homogeneous system. Otherwise, such a system is called a non-homogeneous system. Otherwise means if there exists at least one equation with a non-zero constant term, such a systems are called non-homogeneous. At least one. But to say homogeneous system, all the constants should be equal to 0. Now, suppose if the system has a solution. Means a set of n values for each x1. There should for each xi. There should be a set of n values x1, x2, x3, and so on xn, which satisfies all the m equations, all the given equations. Okay, together. Such a system is called consistent system. Okay, so when I said there has a solution, it may be the solution may be unique, or the solution may be infinitely many solutions also possible. Okay. Suppose if the system does not have a solution, means if we are there does not exist a set of n values x1, x2, x3, and so on xn, which satisfies all the given equations. There does not exist such an n value, such a set. Then such a system of linear equation is called inconsistent system. Okay. Now, if we club the second statement and the third statement, there is one point is obvious. What is that? Homogeneous system of linear equations are always consistent. What do we mean by homogeneous system of linear equations always consistent? Let me explain with some example. For example, assume that 2x plus y is equal to 0 and minus x minus y is equal to 1. Minus x plus y is equal to 0. Is it a consistent? Is it a homogeneous system or non-homogeneous system? It is a non-homogeneous system. I have given two equations in two unknowns. Remember that. Since two equations and two unknowns both are same, so this system is called a square system. Is it a homogeneous system? No, it is not a homogeneous system because if you look at the second equation, the constant term is a non-zero number. So it is a non-homogeneous system. Okay, whether it will have the solution or not, since it is only two variables, you can cross check the coefficient matrix is and the determinant of the coefficient matrix is non-zero, and hence the solution will definitely exist. In fact, that is unique in this case. Okay, for example, look at this one: 2x plus y is equal to 1, and then 4x plus 2y is equal to 1. In this case, whether do we have a solution? Whether do we have a solution here? We don't have a solution here. Why? Because the coefficient metric is a singular metric. Not only that, 2 by 4 is equal to 1 by 2 is not equal to 1 by 1. This technique you might have known. So that is why I'm not spending much time here. Okay. But suppose if the same equation, suppose if I kept here 2, then in that case, yes, you do have the solution, but the solution is not unique. In fact, there is infinite number of solutions. Okay, if there is at least one solution, we call such a system as consistent system. Now let us look at the last one. What is that one? homogeneous system is always consistent system, which means what you meant by homogeneous system? The homogeneous system means x minus y is equal to 0, 2x plus y is equal to 0. This is a homogeneous system. Right hand side, the constant terms are all 0. Why it is consistent? Consistent means it is already had a solution. It has at least one solution. What is that? X comma y is equal to 0 comma 0. X comma y is equal to 0 comma 0. This is a trivial solution for homogeneous system. Number of variables, how many number of variables are there? You consider each variable as 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay. So all those such a system. What I mean to say here, every system, every homogeneous system is consistent. Okay, fine. Okay. Now there is something called another definition. What is this one called? This is called a linear equation is said to be a degenerate equation if all the coefficients of the unknowns, it means it is all the coefficients of the unknowns. Okay. If all the coefficients of the unknowns are 0, such an equation generally we call it as a degenerate equation. So generally it is of the form 0 times x1 plus 0 times x2 plus 0 times x1 and so on xn is equal to b. We are not expecting the constant to become 0. We are not expecting the constant to become 0. B can be anything. It can be 0 or it can be non-zero. But suppose if all the coefficients of the unknowns are 0, such a linear equation is called degenerate equation. And by the way, why did we call it as a linear equation? The linear equation is the degree of each unknown is 1. Each unknown, every unknown. Okay. Now, the solution of a degenerate equation depends on the constant b. For example, what I mean here, for example, you take 0 times x plus 0 times y is equal to 2. Both two variables are there and both the coefficients are 0. So it is a degenerate equation. Now, what is the solution? Does the solution exist for this linear equation? Does this linear equation have a solution? No. If it has a solution, then what you will get? 0 is equal to 2 you will get. So it does not have any solution. Okay. For example, 0 times x plus 0 times y is equal to 0. Whether this system has a solution, whether this linear equation has a solution, not system. Whether this is also a degenerate equation, whether this degenerate equation is having a solution, of course yes. And what is the solution? The 0 comma 0. Not only 0 comma 0, in fact you can choose any real number x and any real number for y. Okay, so that is what I said here in the points. Suppose if in a degenerate equation, if the constant term is non-zero number, then the equation does not have a solution. Does not have a solution. And suppose if the constant, suppose in a degenerate equation, if the constant term is 0, then such an equation always has a solution. Not only always has a solution, in fact, any choices you can take. Any choices for the unknowns. So this is what we call the degenerate equation. Okay. Now let us come to the very known representation for a very well-known representation for a system of linear equation, and this kind of representation you already know it as suppose. So far, do you have any doubts? So far, any one of you have doubts? Sharon Balasubramanian, yes, unmute yourself and speak.
Sir, what is the significance of this degenerate equation, sir?
Yeah, you will come to know. Just give me some 10 minutes, you will come to know.
Okay, sir.
Okay, So the matrix representation of system of linear equations. This one you already know it. So generally, suppose assume that we have here this metric representation is for the system I have given earlier. How many equations are there? M equations. How many unknowns are there? N unknowns. Okay. So if you write the metric representation for the above system, then what you will get, the first thing you will get A, that is called the coefficient metric. It consists of all the coefficients, where each row represents one equation. For example, let me make it more clear with an example. 2x plus y minus z is equal to 1, and then x plus y plus z is equal to minus 1, and then 3x minus 2y minus z is equal to 2. Suppose assume that I have given three equations in three unknowns. Then what will be the coefficient metric? The coefficient metric is 2, 1, minus 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, minus 2, and minus 1. This is called the coefficient metric. Okay. Now, as you can see, each row of this coefficient metric gives you the set of coefficients of one equation. Okay. Now, what about the next one? That is called x. Okay, that is called the variable metric, which consists of unknowns, which consists of all the unknown variables. What are the unknown variables? X1 here, in this case, x, y, z. Three unknown variables are there. And then there is something called constant metric. So B1, B2, and so on, Bn. Now, what about the order of this metric? The order of the coefficient metric is number of linear equations given and number of unknowns in the problem. That is m by n. Okay. Now, what about the order of the variable metric? It is m by 1. It is a column metric. Now, what about the order of the constant metric? It is also m by 1. Number of equations by 1. Okay. Now, actually, if you look at the row metric, if you look at the coefficient metric, the first row will give you only the coefficients, but it will not give you any information about the constant. So there is something called augmented metric for a system of linear equations. What we meant by an augmented metric, let me write for this example. What we generally do, we will write the coefficient metric 2, 1, minus 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, minus 2, minus 1. This is what? This is the coefficient metric. Now, augmented metric means we need to add the constant metric. That is, what is the constant metric here? 1, minus 1, 2. This is 1, minus 1, 2. Okay. Now, which is separated by a line. Okay. So this is the first part is the coefficient metric, and the last column is the constant metric. This is called the augmented metric. If you look at the augmented metric, you don't need to do anything about the system. Why? Because each row will give you the complete equation along with the coefficients and along with the constant terms. First row will give you one equation, second row will give you another equation, third row will give you another equation. So this is what we call the augmented metric for a system of linear equations. And mostly what we will do, we will work on the algorithms what we have discussed. The algorithms what we have discussed that needs the augmented metric. Not the coefficient metric is not enough. It needs the augmented metric. Okay. Here, the first thing is the earlier methods we have come across. What are the earlier methods we have come across? Like inverse method. What is the inverse method you say? The inverse method you say, suppose if the coefficient metric A is a non-singular metric, means with a non-zero determinant, then the solution exists and it is unique. And in this case, what we used to write? The solution X is basically equal to A inverse times B. This is the unique solution. Okay. But when the determinant of A is equal to 0, means coefficient metric is a singular metric. Then it does not mean that the solution does not exist. A coefficient metric is a non-singular metric, implies solution exists and it is unique. Done. Agree. That is what we call the inverse method, using the inverse of the quotient metric. But if the quotient metric is a singular metric, which means with a zero determinant, it does not mean that the system does not have any solution. It may have a solution, it may not have a solution. Both the things are possible. So that is the reason, if you closely observe in your +2 level standard also, whenever the determinant A is equal to 0, the answer is the solution, the answer is not something like the solution does not exist. What you used to say? The matrix inverse method is not applicable. That's all. That's all you have to say. If you say the solution does not exist, means you are wrong. Okay. What you need to say? You need to say the matrix inverse method does not is not applicable. That's all. Even for the Cramer's rule also the same thing. Okay. Now another thing is, when we have a square system, for example, here if you look at here, we have a square system that is 3 by 3, and hence there is at least there is a possibility to check the inverse method, because it is a square metric. So we will be very curious. Suppose since it is a square metric, we can check the determinant, and if the determinant is non-zero, then we can find the solution easily. Okay, that is one advantage of what we have done. But now the systems may not be a square system. It may be a rectangular system. For example, I may give only 3 equations in 4 unknowns, and I will ask you to find the existence of the solution. The existence of the solution. 3 by 4, so definitely it is not a square metric, so there is no concept called the determinant, and hence you cannot proceed. You cannot use the inverse method. Inverse method is not applicable straight away. Not even the Cramer's method. In this case, then what you need to do? You need some other algorithms. You need some other techniques. Okay. So what are the techniques? Okay. And that is what we are going to see. So we will start with something called elementary row operations, which are nothing but what we have already seen, the elementary row operations of a metric, the scalar metric. Okay. Here it is also the same thing. E1 represents interchange of 2 rows, but here each row is what we call, each row is an equation, and E2 means replace a row by a non-zero multiple of itself. Okay, here it is not a row, it is an equation. Okay, and E3 is multiply a row with a scalar, and then add that multiple to this equation and replace the present equation. So it is exactly the 3 equations, three operations which you have already seen, and these 3 operations you have been doing from your maybe upper primary school onwards. Okay. So I hope all of you know this technique, so I'm not spending much time here, so I'm proceeding further. So after a finite number of elementary row operations on an augmented matrix of a given system of linear equations, we will get another system of linear equations. What it mean here? Suppose, as I have explained in the some time back, just now, so there is something called augmented matrix, right? For a system, each system will be can be uniquely represented with the augmented matrix. Each system can be uniquely represented with the augmented matrix. For example, let us take the same system, this one only. This is the augmented matrix, right? So that is 2, 1, minus 1, 1, and then 1, 1, 1, minus 1, and then 3, minus 2, minus 1, and then 2. Okay. Now this is the augmented matrix. The augmented matrix generally we will represent with A, which is a quotient matrix, separated by and a constant matrix. Or you can simply represent with some another letter called capital A. Okay. Now what I'm doing here, the R2 1 by 2 times R minus 1 by 2 times R1 plus R2 replaces R2. So what in the row operations, what you need to observe here, when particularly when you are using the E3, you are not multiplying the present row. Remember that. You may say, sir, why you are doing like this? We will get the fractions. We will not do like this. What we will do? We will do R1 minus 2 times R2 replaces R2. Of course, it is also a row operation. Okay. But it is encouraged to follow this way, not this way. This is the unique way, and this is, if you observe, if you use this kind of notations, then it is not the unique way. Okay. So that is the reason it is encouraged to use the only the standard way of doing. Okay. So then what will happen? What will happen? 2 first row is not changing at all. So 2 1 minus 1 1. Second row is what will happen? Minus 1 by 2. So it is 0 now. So minus 1 by 2 plus 1. So it is 1 by 2. And then 1 by 2 plus 1 by 1. So that is it is 3 by 2. And then minus 1 by 2 minus 1. So that is minus 3 by 2. And third equation is not changed. So that is 3 minus 2 minus 1 2. Now we have obtained another augmented matrix, another metric. Now suppose if you write this augmented matrix in the system of equations form, then you will not get exactly the same set of equations which you have started with. So this system, this augmented represent another system. This is a given system. You have applied some row operations, elementary row operations. Okay. Elementary row operations. So after applying a elementary row operation, if you write the respective system using the augmented matrix, then you will not get the same set of equations we have started with. So what you need to find, so this is what we call, this is another system. But what kind of system it is actually? It is actually the equivalent system, row equivalent system. Row equivalent system. Okay. So this is the given system, and after applying some finite number of elementary row operations, you are getting another system of linear equations. But the relation between these two is actually what? The relationship between these two is actually they are row equivalent. Why? Because you are applying the elementary row operations only. Elementary row operations only. Now, what we meant by row equivalent here, both the equations will have, both the systems, not equations, both the systems will have same set of solutions. That is actually a theorem which is stated here in the below. Okay, so whatever the solutions are there for the given system, and whatever the solutions are there for the new system, equivalent, which is equivalent, both will have same set of solutions. Suppose if suppose if here 0, 1, 1 is a solution. I don't know where it is. Suppose assume that, or maybe suppose if x0, y0, z0 is a solution here, then the same x0, y0, z0 is a solution in the new system, for the new system also, and vice versa. Okay, so that is about the row equivalence of a system of equations. Now, yeah, so before going further, whether any one of you have doubts? Now, if the now let us step by step, let us go to the actual form, actual need. Okay. So basically, what is the title? The title is Application to the Linear Algebra, means solving the system of linear equations using echelon form and or the row canonical form. Okay, but here we have not reached up to that point, but we are going step by step. That is what you need to understand. Abhinav Prasad, why did we perform that operation? Do you mean elementary row operation?
Why did we find the row equivalent there? Like what was the use there?
See here, why do we need to do this operation? Because that reduces the cost, that reduces the storage of the system. The cost means the computation wise, it will give you less number of computations and with the assurance of existence or non-existence of a solution. It is not that we have not done this kind of elimination earlier. We have done this kind of elimination earlier. For example, suppose if I give in the maybe in your schooling days, you might have come across this kind of problems. 2x plus y is equal to 3 and x minus y is equal to 4. Solve these two equations. What you have done, the very first thing, you have given in equation 1, equation 2, and then you used to say eliminate y, eliminate one variable. Am I right? Eliminate one variable. By adding those two equations, you have eliminated. Okay. So generally, that is this process we have already come across. Okay, that is what I mean. So you might have eliminated one variable by adding them. So finally, you will get 3x is equal to 7. So x is equal to 7 by 3. And once you find out the one value, then you try to find the another variable value by substituting x is equal to 7 by 3 here. Am I right? So this is the general system, general way of doing it, you come across. Okay. So it is exactly the same technique we are following here, but here we are not dealing only with the two unknowns. Here we are dealing with the number of unknowns. The number of unknowns can be 10. Sometimes it depends on the problem. It depends on the problem. Okay. So that you will understand. Once we hit one problem, then that by the there you will understand why actually we need to operate those elementary row operations and how does it help us. Okay. Yeah. So now what is a system of linear equations is said to be in the triangular form. What we mean by a system of linear equations in the triangular form? If the coefficient metric A is in the triangular form. Triangular form means it can be lower triangular or it can be upper triangular. For example, let me write this equation, this system. Let me write this system. Generally, the triangular means almost it is a square metric, a square system. Square system means number of equations and the number of unknowns both are same. Okay. For example, you take this system x plus y plus z is equal to 1, y minus z is equal to 2, z is equal to 3. Suppose assume that this is the system of equations I have given. Suppose if you write this one in the metric form, then what you will get? 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, minus 1, and 0, 0, 1 times x, y, z is equal to 1, 2, 3. The coefficient metric is an upper triangular metric, and hence the system is in a triangular form. Not only upper triangular, suppose if the coefficient metric is in the lower triangular metric, in that case also we can say the system is in the triangular form. Now, what is the advantage of these triangular systems? It is you no need to do much actually. You can find the solution. There is something called if it is in the upper triangular metric, then something called back substitution. Back substitution, that is starting from the last row. What is the last row? It gave you last row gave you z is equal to 3. And if you look at the second row means second equation, y minus z is equal to 2 implies z is equal to 3. You substitute here, then what you will get? Y is equal to 5. Now, after evaluating one more variable, you go to the another row which is at the top. Okay, so that is 1 x plus y plus z is equal to 1. So x plus y plus z is equal to 1. Y is equal to 5, z is equal to 3, 8, and so x is equal to minus 7. So basically, when the triangular system is there, We don't need to do much calculations. We can directly evaluate the solution. Suppose if it is a lower triangular metric, then what you need to do? You need to do the forward substitution. That's all. Backward substitution, or suppose in case of upper triangular metric, upper triangular system, and forward substitution in case of lower in case of lower triangular system. That's all. It is a matter of just simply evaluating each equation and substituting it in the previous equation. Okay, right. But suppose this is a note here actually. What this note says, suppose assume that the system I have given x plus y plus z is equal to 1 and y minus z is equal to 2 and then 0 into z is equal to 3. 0 into z is equal to 3. Assume that I have, this is the system, we are 0 into z is equal to 3. If you write this is an upper triangular system, no doubt. Does it mean every upper triangular system will have a solution? No, not necessarily. There is something called the degenerate equation. Some of you have asked, I think 10 to 15 minutes back. Now you observe. Suppose if the upper triangular system or any triangular system, lower triangular system has no degenerate equation. Okay, has no degenerate equation, then what you can do it? For example, if you look at here, the third equation is a degenerate equation. Third equation is a degenerate equation. Coefficients of all the unknowns is 0. And if you look at in this degenerate equation, if you look at the coefficient, if you look at the constant, that is a non-zero constant. That is a non-zero constant. Now the question is whether this equation has any solution or what. Does this degenerate equation with a non-zero coefficient will have any solution? May I know your answers? Give your answers in the box, in the chat box. This is a degenerate equation with a non-zero constant. Does this equation will have any solution? No, it does not have. It will not have any solution. If this equation does not have any solution, what about the system? Whether the system will have any solution? The equation itself does not have any solution. Then how does it? How does the entire system will have a solution? Okay, I think in between one of you said there is something called it will have a solution by taking its parameter, something like that is a nice thought, but it is not true actually. What he mean it might be in evaluating the eigenvectors you might have experienced. Suppose if this is the case, then what we will do, he's basically what he's doing, he's excluding this equation. We cannot exclude any equation. We can exclude some equations. I will tell you the case. Okay. For example, let us take the same set of equations in this way. X plus y plus z is equal to 1. Y minus z is equal to 2. And 0 times z is equal to 0. This is also an upper triangular system. This is also a triangular system. Does this have any degenerate equation with a non-zero constant? Does this have any degenerate equation with non-zero constant? It has a degenerate equation, but the constant is 0. In this case, what you can do, you can completely exclude this equation. Why? Because if it is equal to 0 in the degenerate equation, if the constant term is 0, then any choices will become a solution. Yes, now we can take z as a parameter. In this case, we can take z as a parameter, and then we can find the solution for the remaining equations. For the remaining equation, which will also be a solution for this equation. Why? Because this degenerate equation with the 0th coefficient will accept any value. Okay, so that is about the explanation for the this statement. Okay, so basically you need to understand when there is a system which is in the triangular form, the first thing you need to check whether the system has any degenerate equation with the non-zero constant. Suppose if it has, then solution does not exist straight away. Suppose if it has any triangular system, suppose if it has not only triangular system, any system, it has a degenerate equation with the non-zero coefficient, with the non-zero constant, that's all. The system does not have any solution. Okay. Suppose if there is any degenerate equation with the 0th constant, then what you can do? You can completely exclude. This equation, and you can continue with the remaining equations only for the solution. Okay. So yeah, that's all about the triangular form. Okay. As we have already discussed, the echelon form of a metric is something called the generalization of upper triangular metric. Okay. So what we meant by an echelon form? System should be in echelon form means the only thing is the coefficients, the coefficient metric. If the coefficient metric is in the echelon form, then you can say the system is in the echelon form. For example, x1 plus 2x2 minus x3 plus x4 is equal to 1. x3 minus x4 is equal to minus 1. x4 is equal to 2. Assume that this is what I have given. Okay. How many equations? 3 equations. How many unknowns? 4 unknowns. Write the metric form of the system. Metric form is 1, 2, minus 1, 1. Second equation is x1 coefficient is 0, x2 coefficient is 0, x3 coefficient is 1, x4 coefficient is minus 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. x1, x2, x3 is equal to 1, minus 1, 2. So how does the systems in the echelon form, how to find the solution for the systems which are in the echelon form? Echelon form means if the coefficient metric of the system is in the echelon form, then that's all. The system is in the echelon form. Okay. So in this case also, what you can do? You can do something called okay. In the echelon form of a metric, then we have a notion, right? Then what is called pivot entries, pivot elements, right? So since that is when we are simply discussing about a scalar metric, but here also metric is scalar metric only, but it represents a set of equations. So it means it related to some variables. So here there is something called, they call it as pivot variables. For example, this is the pivot element for this row, and for the second row, this is the pivot. This is the pivot second pivot element, and this is also a pivot element for the third row. Okay. So now in which column the pivot elements are there? Suppose here x1 column, x3 column, and x4 column, there is a pivot entries. And hence these 3 variables are called pivot variables, whereas the remaining variables, the other unknowns, what are the other unknowns? x2. x2 is called a free variable. x2 is called a free variable. Okay. So if it is, so these are called the pivot variables and the free variables. Now, what about the solution for this system? The solution for the system, which is in the echelon form, can be obtained using the same thing, same technique, back substitution method. Back substitution method only. Again, but by assigning any value to the free variables. Why assigning any value to the free variables? You solve this system, you will understand. If you look at the last metric, what you will get here, x3 is equal to 2, directly we will get. x3 is equal to 2, we will directly get. Oh, sorry, here x3 and x4 is also there, na? Metric form. Yeah. Okay. So the last one is what? The one equation is x4, not x3. So x4 is equal to 2, we obtain directly. Second equation is x3 minus x4 is equal to minus 1, and hence x3 is equal to 1. So x3 also we have obtained, x4 is also we have obtained. So what is the next equation? The above equation. The above equation is x1 plus 2x2 minus x3 plus x4 is equal to 1. So that means it is equal to 0, basically, right? So now what about x1 plus x2? Are you getting any direct values for any x1 and x2? You are not getting the direct values. You got a relation. x1 plus x2 is equal to 0. You got a relation. So any numbers, any scalars which satisfies this equation can be considered. Okay. So which one we need to take it? So by taking x2 as a parameter, why? Because x2 is the free variable. By taking x2 is the free variable. And since x2 is the free variable, by taking x2 as the parameter, you can write the solution. So x1 is equal to what? x1 is equal to minus 2x2. x2 is x2 only. And x3 has a fixed value 1. x2 has a fixed value 1. So now what about x2? x2 can be any real number, which basically says that this system will have an infinite number of solutions. This system will have an infinite number of solutions. I think by this time, you might have one of you have asked, right, sir, why we need to perform these row operations? I think by this time the person might have understood. If not, you see this one. For any metric, suppose if we now you can see the how easy it is. Suppose if the system is in the triangular form or in the more generally if it is in the echelon form. Okay. So now we can take this advantage, and what we can do, we can always perform the row operations on a given system of equations, so that we will get an equivalent system for which the solutions are same. The solution of the given system and this equivalent system are same. But how to perform the row operations so that the coefficient, whatever the new system we will get, so that will become a either in echelon form or in the canonical form. Okay, that is we will solve some problems in the next section. That we will do it. In the meanwhile, they have some of you have asked. So okay, anyway, if anyone, now I'm winding up the section. If any one of you have doubts, you are most welcome. Thank you, one and all.